everybody. And I got to tell you something. There's some things I wanted to talk about. That's been, I hope I got time for this. Um, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Nottoway slave plantation that was in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's been around. I think it was 100 years or 160 years. I don't know. But it's a slave plantation. Where I come from. I was born and raised. No, I wasn't born. I wasn't raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, but I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. And of course, you would hear these stories about. Well, of course, down south you hear about slave plantations all over the South and everything. But this happens to be like the biggest slave plantation. Like this, I think this is probably the biggest slave plantation. And I just found out that plantation just caught fire. So let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Well, I suck at singing. Sorry. Gotta let it burn. I'm sorry. I suck at that. I really need to. I thought about singing lessons, but I just remember I don't really like to sing. But anyway, yeah, Usher. That was from Usher. But yeah, that I think that was appropriate because let's be honest. Let's be honest. Why should anybody feel sorry for a slave plantation? Come on now. You have to be real fucked up in the head to care about what happened to a slave plantation. And from what I've heard, people got married in this plantation. People got married at this plantation. Unless you didn't know any better, unless you really didn't know any better, I don't feel you got to have problems to be just to marry your husband or marry your wife at a plantation of all places. Of all places, a slave plantation? What kind of sense does that make? Now, if you knew better, if you knew about the history of this plantation and you wanted to get married there, you're gonna hate what I have to say because I hope you have the ugliest divorce possible. I hope everyone that got married at that slave plantation has the ugliest divorce possible. If they have kids, I hope their kids turn out deformed. That's fucked up. You're a real piece of shit for that. Okay, I've been called that before, so this won't be the last time that I'm called a POS because of an opinion on something that's ridiculous. What idiot would go out there and get married at a slave plantation for black people? I'm a big believer in karmic justice. I'm a huge believer in karmic justice. And let's be honest. What if this were an Auschwitz, a concentration camp in Auschwitz? I assure you, no one would be rushing to get married at a concentration camp. No one would want to celebrate the damn camp. I promise you, nobody would want to do it because guess what? You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna condemn anybody who celebrated like going to that camp, going to that concentration camp where Jews were killed. 6 million Jews were killed. Now, it's funny how which they should. You should be embarrassed for some bullshit like that. Come on now. Seriously, what sense does this make? Think about it. Now, but I guess it's different because you shouldn't celebrate having these celebrations at a concentration camp, which should be condemnable. Yet somehow, somehow, it's okay to have celebrations and to get married at a fucking slave plantation. Now that I might be emotional at this point. At this point, I really don't give a damn. But tell me something. What possible sense does that make? Can someone please tell me what sense that makes at all? This is why I hate I hate, in a way, I kind of hate humanity, because you're gonna find people that are gonna find ways to sympathize for the unsympathetic, because this is ridiculous. Now I don't believe in things like voodoo or anything like that. I'm not a religious person, well, which is funny. I said I believed in karmic justice, but yet I don't believe in voodoo or anything like that. Yeah, guess what? I still don't believe in it. But here's the thing: if I were to find out more history on that plantation, it would probably be one of the worst things I've ever discovered. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm 100% sure. Me being a black man that was born and raised in the South. I was born in New Orleans, but I was raised in the South. I'm pretty sure I'm going to find some horrific atrocities that took place in that damn plantation. But yet somehow, some way, somewhere, somehow, people want to feel bad and shed tears over the place burning down. Why the hell should I feel bad about some bullshit like that? I shouldn't feel bad about that, because guess what? It deserves to fucking burn. It deserves to. I don't care about that. Well, Tori, what if your house burned down? Yeah, and you know what? You wouldn't care about that, because guess what? You wouldn't give a damn about my house burning down, because in your honest opinion, my house has no historical significance to you. But then again, my house was never a slave plantation. My house never oppressed anybody. My house doesn't have any horrific memories. So, of course, you couldn't cry over some bullshit like that, because guess what? You cry and whine over some crap like this. Like, hey, look, if you're gonna show a lot of reverence to a place like Auschwitz and everything, which you should show some and treat that like a place of horrors and whatnot. You should fucking treat a place like Attaway or Attaway, whatever, like a place of horrors, and a place. Look. You're probably wondering, like, well, why can't we put that in? Okay, why don't you put the charred remains in the museum? Put the charred remains in a museum and paint a fucking picture of that place. Was it beautiful? Did it look beautiful? Yeah, but guess what? It came with a lot of baggage. It came with a lot of horrors. If the walls could talk, it would tell you some really unspeakably evil things that went on in that slave plantation. So, if the ancestors burnt that down, hey, I would clap right now, but I don't have two hands free to clap. But you know what? I really don't care. So let's chalk this up to karma. And speaking of karma, did you hear about Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, that was saying that my race is a hate race or whatever, or a hateful race, or a race of hate or whatever? Come to find out, this son of a bitch has got cancer. He's got the same cancer that President Joe Biden has. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. And that's a sad thing. And I hope he, I don't know if he's gonna, pull